Do you have a plan for growth? That's today on the Blue Collar Proud Show. Hey there, Proud Nation, and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. It's the show that's all about having and living the blue collar business dream. If you have a dream about where you want to head in your business, about what you want your business to give you in your life and in your family and for your employees, then we believe that you can reach that dream destination, and Taylor and I want to be along for that ride. Thank you for joining us every single week. My name is Carter Harkins, and with me here is Taylor Hill.
How you doing this week?
Good, man. Good to see you. You just got back from vacation.
I did, and I know kind of what Northern California is going through because I was in BC, just north of there. They had over 100 fires, and man, it was smoky.
Yeah. I saw a couple of pictures and was like, I think there's mountains back there.
Yeah, it was funny. We would go into a Starbucks, and most of them had these beautiful landscapes. And I just turned around to one guy and went, "Where is that?" He was like, "Normally right out that window." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
So we pretended the whole time that there were these beautiful vistas, on the other side of the smoke. So. But it was when you're given lemons, you make lemonade. Yeah. So we had fun anyway.
Well, that's good.
So, yeah.
Good. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
I want to just talk about our sponsor real quick for this week, Closing Commander. We talk with business owners all the time that say, "Yep, somewhere in my office, I've got a stack of open estimates that come back from my crews. They've provided an estimate, but the customer needs to wait, and I don't have any way of following up with those customers. I don't have a system for that part of it." I try to make the people in the office do it. I've tried making my employees do it. It's just difficult to make that happen. And I know there's a fortune in the follow-up. I know that there's money buried in those estimates in that stack on my desk, but I can't get to them. So that's why we created Closing Commander, to automate the process of following up on open estimates, to close more of those estimates and turn them into cash in your business. If you're interested in trying it out, I've got a special offer for you. It's the 14-day free trial that everyone gets. But if you are, and because you are, a BCP Show listener, you get your first month entirely free if you use the link in today's show notes or in the app. There's a special offers section of our BCP Show app, and click that link, use that link to sign up for Closing Commander, and you'll get your first month entirely free. Check it out at closingcommander.com. Okay, we're talking today about, we're talking with someone that I think is going to be really interesting conversation. It's a three-parter and just good information. Today we're talking about planning and time management for business owners. And I think there's a real challenge there. I think when people start in business, they are just kind of making it up as they go along. They don't know what all they need to be doing. They just know that stuff chirps at them every once in a while, and they got to tend to it. Right. I mean, they get a call, they got to go deal with a customer or go take care of a customer, and they get paid. And then, eventually they start to figure out there's more to do than I know what to do, and I've got to get smart about organizing here and planning the growth of my business, managing my time, and all of those things. But it's one way of thinking about business is like a game. We've got friends like Ellen Rohr that talk about the game of business a lot. And I think that's a really healthy metaphor. But what is the game exactly for a business owner? And I think it's a learning game. And I think the game is figuring out what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. So what and when, right? It's what do I need to be focused on to cause this business to grow? And when do I need to be focused on those things in order to achieve the results I want? And that's the game, is figuring out the what and the when.
I think that's a really good way to put that. The only other thing that I would challenge with that is I think there's two other things that happen. One is the mindset, because if you don't have the mindset of playing the game,
sure,
then all of a sudden everything else kind of goes out the window. Yeah. So though I don't think mindset's everything, but I do think it's really, really important. And then the other thing is the willingness to change, because the game will change.
Yeah, it does as you grow.
As you grow, it changes. So talk a little bit about the struggle of dealing with needing to have total control and perfectionism in your business, and how that holds us back from that growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and I'm thinking where most trades, contractors, and service business owners start, usually they're doing something at a really high level for someone else as an employee, and then they finally decide, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to own a business that does this thing that I'm so good at. So control and perfectionism oftentimes find their root in our brains because we're afraid of things that we don't understand. We don't, there's so much uncertainty around that, and our brains like certainty. And so we tend to stay in the areas where we are expert, where we know what to do, we know when to do it. And so perfectionism and control, I want to stay in the areas that I know I can control, and I want to stay in the areas that I can do really well. And I don't want to venture too far into new territory that challenges my, my sense of what I know or what I feel like I'm in control of. That's a challenge. And so oftentimes we tend to want to stay anchored in those things we do well. And that can be perfectionism. That can be an over controlling of certain areas of my business.
Do you think that it's can also be a pride issue, or even a almost you don't want to let yourself down, that if you don't know enough about that to get outside that comfort area, that it just scares the life out of you?
Yeah, I think pride shows up, especially if we encounter someone else who has an expectation that we should know something that we don't know. Then our pride can get involved in our ego. But most of the time, embarrassment alone isn't enough to keep us from doing what we need to do. It's more of that uncertainty, that fear of the unknown is the primal, brain sort of center area that keeps us from becoming what we need to be in our business. It's just that this new task is something that I've never done before. And it seems like that might be important, but I don't know how to do it. But I know how to do this really well. So I'm just going to keep doing more and more of this and get better and better at this, and just hope that this other new thing out here will figure itself out. And that oftentimes is, when you get down to it, that's one of the reasons that people stay small even when they want to grow, is they've just not gotten outside of their comfort zone enough to do the harder things or the new things. And get beyond that. You're never going to do something for the first time perfectly.
Right.
You're never going to do every single thing and control it 100%. But you've got to start moving that way and begin doing those things, and you'll grow more comfortable with it as you go. But the first time you do anything, you're going to feel awkward. You're not going to know how to do it. You're going to feel, self-conscious and everything else. But doing it is what is required in business.
Awesome. That's great.
So I want to jump into this conversation with Danny Kerr. He's with Breakthrough Academy. He's in where you just came from, in fact, Vancouver area of British Columbia. He and Breakthrough Academy have helped hundreds of contractor service businesses figure out the game of business. And so like I said, this is a 3-parter. Today we're talking about this subject of planning and time management. And Danny had some great things to say about how entrepreneur business owners need to think about planning and time management. So let's hear his thoughts on that. Let's do the interview, and then afterwards we'll come back and chat a little more and add some thoughts to it. With us on the phone today is Danny Kerr with Breakthrough Academy. Hi, Danny. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Looking forward to this conversation. We're talking today specifically about that one commodity that everybody has the exact same amount of, and everybody gets to decide how they spend it, and that's time. Time management is probably one of the biggest challenges that most business owners have, especially running a busy contractor business. And I know that you've been able to help a lot of business owners figure that out, how to set better goals to use that time, how to plan more effectively. So I thought we'd jump into that conversation today. How's that sound?
Awesome, man. Yeah, we got lots of stuff we could chat about with that.
So let's talk about, we're going to do 3 episodes with you, and each one of them is going to talk about something different, but they all sort of dovetail together. So could you outline for us a little bit about what you want to cover in the next 3 sessions together?
Sure. Yeah, so we're going to talk obviously today about time management, priority management, ultimately understanding how to go for a very specific goal in your company and just saying no to a lot of things that don't help you hit that goal, and using the rest of your time for your life so you enjoy your life again. And the rigor and the discipline that takes. So we'll get into that. After that, I think we're going to get into recruitment. So to really be able to have time in your life and to be able to have a good, thriving business that's profitable, you have to have good people. If all you do is operate B-level candidates all day long, because that's all you can find, you're never really going to get out of the rat race. So I'm going to go through some pretty set methodologies and ways to find A-level candidates relatively quickly and be able to predict future performance in people based on past behavior. So yeah, just be a much more effective recruitment person, essentially. And the last thing we'll look at is really it has to do with financials, but it has a lot to do with just running a performance-driven system in your company so that everything runs off of the budget for the year. All your employees and staff have set deliverables and goals that they need to hit, and you can start to really both A, know how you're doing and know how your financials of your company are doing, but B, more importantly, delegate that down to your team and have them kind of own it a bit and help you transition from being a boss to being more of a coach to your people.
That's awesome. So talk to the guy right now who's listening, who feels like he doesn't so much own a business as a business owns him. You know, it's literally running his life, and he has no ability to feel in control of his time. Where does that person start to get a handle on things and begin to have that life that you talked about being possible?
Sure. I mean, I could even just tell my story a bit, right? Because
Sure.
I was there at one point in my life. Like I started my first painting business when I was 18 years old. Dyslexic in school, so school was never kind of my way to be successful, and struggled a lot there. But found a business to be probably the most, the right fit for me, right? I'm a born entrepreneur. That's all I probably should be doing. I got fired from most of my other jobs. So getting into it in the beginning, it's exciting, right? You feel successful. You feel like you can own something of your own. You have control over that. You feel proud of what you're doing. And, my first couple of years running that painting business, I was probably one of the things I was most proud of was how hard I was working. Like I literally would say to people, like, I will outwork you and I will win because I will outwork you and I will work harder and better and more, I have more commitment to this thing than most people in the industry. And what I realized is that pride, that stubborn pride, slowly turned into a bit of a problem because I was outworking everybody and I was outworking myself. I was working probably 80 hours a week in the business. I didn't have a lot of freedom. I was young, so I had a lot of energy in me, but I was realizing how unsustainable this was if I ever actually wanted to have a family and, move forward in my life and have more diversity than just, a crazy business, right? So I advanced over time. I started to take a lot of classes on priority management, block scheduling of time. I actually worked a lot too on leadership, so situational leadership and conflict resolution, and started to get more soft skills in my life and started to realize that, yeah, it's great and all, especially in the beginning, to work extremely hard to grow your company. But if that's all you're ever going to do long term, you will burn out and you will resent the business that you created for yourself. Like I literally felt like I painted myself into a corner, and no pun intended, but like I didn't have any other options other than to work harder because when shit hit the fan, I was the only guy left to pick up the pieces. And that's not the way, that's not a business, right? That's just you employing yourself. And that realization changed a lot for me. So yeah, I mean, we'll talk a lot about the changes I made and what resulted, but what I realized is, the first realization I ever had, I remember at one point we had about 6 painters operating, and I think it was my first or second year, and 3 of them quit in the first few months of operating with them. And I remember thinking like, man, I can either go and paint all these houses myself now because I got a bunch of timelines with clients, or I can slow things down a little bit and I can focus on finding 3 other painters to paint this project for me. And when I made that decision to recruit versus go take care of it myself and just take more time working on the company, that one little decision extrapolated into a whole other list of things where, 10 years later, I was running, 400 painters and had a massive business under me because I was not defaulting to doing it myself. I was defaulting to working on the company to fix it so it doesn't happen next time the same way.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And that's one of the things that we see a lot, that this attitude of nobody can do it better than I can. So can you just address that a minute about,
Sure.
how somebody can overcome that kind of pride?
Sure. You know what I challenged myself was I challenged myself to say, how can I, a lot more. So a lot of people, they say this is what I can do. Like, I can do this so well. Look at me. I'll do this. I'm the best at this. But then they'll also say things like, no, I can't be done. That can't be done. There's no good people in the industry. Nope. No one could do that like I could. And then when you're doing that, when you're like, I can do this, and you're stubborn about what you can do, and you're also really stubborn about what you can't do, or what your industry or your business or your area or your recession or whatever won't let you do, you've stopped problem solving. And so I started to force myself, especially through 2008 in the recession, to ask myself a very simple question, which is like, if I had to, how would I do that? Like, how can I? Versus can I not? Right? And it seems like such a stupid little simple thing, but man, it made me think every single time. I remember when 2008 hit and everyone's freaking out. And this is my, I was young, I was in my 20s. I'd never heard of a recession before, but we were, we're at 1.3 million, and, we basically had to figure out how do we maintain year over year, and how do we maintain profitability. And I had to focus every single day on problem solving little issues, things from, our closing ratios dropped, our average job size dropped. We did find it actually a little easier to recruit. And I started to look at playing around with numbers with how do we move this business forward versus, nope, can't be done, recession hit, might as well just close up shop. Right. I was in a problem solving mindset right from the get go. And if you're open to information and you're an open-minded person, you can learn and develop. But if you're automatically like, I know myself, I know what I can and cannot do, and that's kind of it for me, you probably will just stay stuck in your way. And that's kind of what happens for a lot of people.
Really is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's about asking a different question to open up a new way of thinking. And that's it. Yeah. Somebody had told me once, I love your explanation of how can I, and changing it from I can't do this or this isn't possible to how, somebody said, ask the question, what would have to be possible in order for that to be possible, for that to occur, for that to happen in my business. And that orients your brain and your attitude towards starting to think through the problem, to start thinking and imagining what might be different and what that would look like, and then what we would need to do in order to start moving that direction. It's a whole new way of thinking, but it truly is transformative for the business owner who has felt locked in and trapped by his business.
Totally. And that's where you got to start. And that's not just by being positive in your mindset. It's not going to change anything. You still got to work really hard in that direction, but it starts with that mindset. And then from there, you have to build a plan. I mean, for me, that next big step was actually to literally just work back what was most important. So what I did is I drew up like my, say like 2008 goals, or right now it'd be like my 2018 goals, and I had about 3 of them, right? So it could be something like I want to hit, $1.3 million in sales. I'm doing all the sales myself right now. So I'd love by the end of the year to have a sales manager or a sales team doing the sales for me. So I hired some key people, and man, like I have no systems. I'm the only person that does all this. I would love to have a sales process in place that I can teach to somebody. So that for a year could be my like big initiative for the year. Am I going to pull myself out of the business all at once in 1 year? No, but I'm going to pull myself out of the sales side. And now I've got a sales goal. I've got a goal to hire a key salesperson, and I've got a goal to actually build the sales process into the company. And so that I give myself a year to do that. And that year can be committed to all these other things that happen day to day in a business, but I'm making sure every month and every week even I have a bit of time stocked away to start to hit those goals. And I break those down into quarterly goals, and then even right down into my weekly day-to-day goals.
Big picture strategic plan. That's really what you're talking about.
That's it. Because, a mindset's awesome. I always start with mindset, but if sometimes people are like, man, I feel positive today. It's like, cool. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, we don't buy into that either. Mindset without action really doesn't get anything done. But oftentimes starting with the thinking helps to unlock action.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you're not thinking correctly, then the action you're taking a lot of times is not the correct action. No. So you have to start with getting your mind in that place so that the action you take is actually going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, and sit down. One thing I would really encourage everybody that's listening to do, here's a really easy exercise to do. Sit down and write down everything that you do in a week, like everything. And then circle all the things that are highest time consumption and lowest skill. And that's usually an indicator of the next role you're going to be hiring for, or potentially some things you could be delegating down to your team. Because what most people don't realize is as your business evolves and grows, every single year, your job description as an owner needs to change. And if you don't sit down and intentionally do that, you're going to trap yourself into your business. It's going to grow and it's going to consume you, and all the sticks are going to be landing on you. But if every year you have a little time, it literally can take maybe an hour or two in December before the next year starts, you say, man, what are all the things I do in a week right now? And then circle the stuff that's highest time consumption and lowest skill. I bet you'll carve out 5 to even 10 hours a week, that space of things you shouldn't be doing anymore.
That's really good. So now you have that plan now, and you've made some action steps. You've decided what needs to be done, who you need to reach out to, or what sort of talent or skill you need to find and hire in order to be in your business. And you can start that process of truly taking more control of your priorities and your schedule, your time, and achieving those goals that you set out to actually achieve.
Totally. And the kicker that makes all this super real is block scheduling. So I live on a block schedule. I block scheduled you guys in for this meeting. I have a bunch of stuff I had to do before. I have a bunch of stuff after, but everything is pre-thought through. So I'm not really reacting anymore to anything. I'm proactive, and I usually try and build my block schedule out 2 weeks in advance. That doesn't mean I know exactly what I'm doing 2 weeks in advance, but I know that, you know what, my quotes I do on Fridays and Saturdays. You know, my office day with the staff where I'm setting goals with them is always on a Monday. My Tuesdays and Wednesdays are in the field. Like I have themes to every single day, and ultimately allows me to block schedule time for coaching my team on a Monday, doing in-field work with everybody on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays are usually built for like administrative days and working on the company. And if you don't block schedule space for this kind of stuff, and you just randomly do things whenever, you do quotes on the middle of the day and then run to a crew site and then run and do a crew drop off, and you don't have rules and regulations in your business and in your life, then you'll just be scattered all the time reacting to stuff versus having structure in your calendar.
So, Danny, I want you to elaborate on something, because one of the things that I see a lot of our listeners will tell you that everything gets great. They try the block scheduling, they try to get everything in, and then they have disasters that happen during the week that just totally ruins everything, and then they eventually give up. So how do you manage those things that can happen in a business that you would say are unexpected?
Sure. Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what I used to do this. So my Mondays, I would go and set up my crews from 7 a.m. to about 12 in the afternoon. So it was kind of like a half day to sometimes a full day of just setup. The end of my day on Mondays, I would usually do a goal setting meeting with my sales manager and my production manager. So we would have a set time that we were supposed to meet, like at a coffee shop at like 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So like set meetings, I have to meet them, just like I have to meet a customer. So I give my day, on Mondays are always crazy. I give my first part of my day to just go and get things set up. My Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays were always filled with crew stuff. So I would usually be available from, again, 7 a.m. to about 12 to do crew visits, to do walk-arounds with customers, to just kind of take care of things. Now I still had a production manager doing most of that, but I just wanted to be available in the morning for my crews. And then I would make myself available in the afternoons for the sales guy. So we might do some buddy estimates together. We might take some time working on some sales system stuff, but I would really set themes to like what I would do throughout the day. Now, did that mean that sometimes my Tuesday we'd have a big disaster and, spill paint all over someone's deck, or who knows, and something I got to get involved in and deal with a conflict that maybe a production manager can't? Sure. And when that happens, whatever was scheduled in the afternoon that can't happen anymore now gets dragged into another day. So I pull it, drag it to the Wednesday or the Thursday, and I make sure it still gets completed versus completely ignored.
So you have to block time for that carryover too.
Yeah. So I have slush time in my calendar, so there's space to kind of have flexibility in it. And I never try and say I'm exactly going to plan out the next 2 weeks and I'm going to stick to it exactly. It's just I'm going to put my big rocks in. I'm going to put slush time around it. But if I don't put it in the first place, then I'll probably forget it even exists and slowly just never do it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the answer to the guy who says it can't be done is it'll never be done unless you actually intentionally set time aside for the things that really matter, those big rocks. Yep. So I want to know a little bit about, obviously as the leader of a company, you need to be able to help your direct reports do this same time management process of knowing what's important, what the priorities are, and how to manage their time in order to achieve those goals. How do you as a leader equip your people and further down the line, their direct reports, et cetera, to be able to be accountable for this sort of a time block strategy, or do you do that?
I do. We absolutely do. So on Friday at the end of the week, everybody that's in a management role within our company anyways has to do about an hour of reporting. So they have to sit down and report in how many hours were produced. They have to put down all the jobs that were produced, how much profit was made per job, and we have a reporting dashboard for them to do that actually. And I think we're going to be in one of these sessions be giving away that to a lot of you guys as well. But we have a reporting dashboard that everybody reports into. And on Monday, my first morning in the Monday, I will often sit down and basically check through that. So I'll look at how the business is doing as a whole, but I'll also see how each individual guy is doing with their productivity or with their sales and so on. So when I sit down and actually have a meeting with them on my Monday afternoons, we can talk about things. We can go, hey, Mr. Sales Guy, you're supposed to be at 320 estimates at this point in the year. You're only at 300, so we're 20 behind. Is this a leads problem? Is this a setup call problem? Like, what can we do to problem solve this? And hey, let's look at your calendar this week. What do you have scheduled for quotes? Where do you have time to do more setup calls? How many leads are coming in? And let's schedule time with you to help you do that better. Do I need to be with you and do some coaching with you this week? or should I just let you kind of go do it? So every week we have what's called GSNR, stands for goal setting and review, on a Monday. And we just help them block, schedule, and plan their week out based on where their goals are at, whether they're hitting or missing.
Got it. Do you teach the strategy of time blocking and I'm assuming certain jobs are a little more homogenous, and I mean, from hour to hour during a day or a given week, they're going to be doing much the same tasks. But how do you help certain roles time block and figure out what the most important way of structuring their day or their week looks like?
Totally. So crews would be different. So crews would have a weekly huddle and then a daily kind of like daily mini huddle. So every week we would on a Monday morning, and I wouldn't do it, the project manager would usually do it, but he would sit down and say, here's the project for this week. Here's kind of our general project plan or flow we'd like to see. And he has a before lunchtime and after lunchtime goal with the crews. So, hey, before lunchtime, we want to get the front done. After lunch, we want to get the back done. And each day, piece by piece, scheduled the job out accordingly. And that allows then little daily huddles where it's like, great, how did we do yesterday? What did we get done? What did we not? Okay, based on that, here's what we should go for before lunch. And at lunchtime while they're eating, they have a quick 5-minute powwow on what they want to get done in the afternoon. So it just helps everybody keep pace and really have a block scheduled plan based on what part of the project they want to get done.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, then what I'm seeing that what you do is basically you're treating your time much like you treat financials. You're really just accounting for the time that needs to be spent on every project or every task.
You got it. Think about it. When you're in a trades business, your biggest asset isn't, some people machinery, if you have a giant, if you just rent machinery all day, but for most people, it's your labor, it's your team. Mm-hmm. You sell labor for a living. That's what you do. And if you don't have an efficient way to manage that labor and drive that labor forward, then yeah, you're going to, struggle to make money and manage a business that's actually worthwhile running.
So true. And it all does come down to time. I mean, we do have a finite amount of that resource, and how we choose to spend it. We can spend it on putting out fires and reacting to every little thing that pops up during the day, and truly just watch an entire 24 hours go by and not have any real measurable progress being made. Or you can say, no, I'm going to make sure that I protect my time, use it wisely, invest that time in the big picture things that are going to move my business forward and help me reach certain goals. And it's no different, like you said, than choosing where to invest money, right? I'm gonna just throw money out there at every little thing and see what happens, or I'm going to do research, pick the winners, pick the ones that I feel are have the best return for my investment, and I'm going to put my money there, and I expect to see that investment returned. That's a great way of looking at it.
Totally. I'll finish this thought too. I always think about this myself even. A lot of us started businesses probably around the same time that people like, Larry Page did with Google or Elon Musk did with Tesla, and they're incredible entrepreneurs. And looking at what they've done in the last little while, they've created their own reality, right? They've formed our own reality. We exist now within it a little bit. But it's super interesting that a lot of us also started businesses the same time as these guys. But what happened between now and then? Well, it was a series of decisions that we made with our days that they made as well. And that's the difference between us and them, is our decision making.
Ouch.
But it's right. It's true, right?
True.
I mean, I aspire to be like them at some level, and they're at the epitome of entrepreneurship. And there's billions of people on the planet, so we can't all be, the Elon Musks of the world. But it is an interesting case study to look at and say, well, what is the difference between the way I spend my time and the way these guys spend their time? Because clearly our paths diverged at one point.
Yeah.
We all grew up in pretty standard homes with maybe building a business out of our garage, but what happened next? Did I just continue doing that, or did I start to think differently?
Yeah, that's great. Danny, I know you have something you want to be able to offer to our listeners, and I want to make sure that you have a chance to explain that and how they can go and get that offer.
Sure. Yeah. So we talked about a lot of stuff about planning. We're going to actually be giving you guys a block scheduling planning example to kind of copy off of a task planning breakdown template, so you can actually think through how to break down tasks properly and put them into your week. So if you're interested in this, if this topic kind of inspired you a bit, we're going to give some free downloads. So it's at btacademy.com/BCP. So BT Academy stands for Breakthrough Academy.com, and then /BCP stands for Blue Collar Proud. I think we'll have that in the show notes as well.
Yes.
When you do get in there, that asks for a little code. The code would be time08. So just time08.
Yep.
But yeah, check out the show notes, put in the code time08, and we'll give you guys some free templates to get started on some of this planning. And if you're interested to chat with us more, we basically coach about 210 business owners right now, all in the trades. We teach them through this and a whole lot more, but ultimately help people scale businesses in a much smarter way, give them an actual structure for their company so that they can step away from the day-to-day, be a bit more profitable, and have their teams start to run things more than just being them in charge of everything. So.
Very good. Danny Kerr, thanks for being on. I'm looking forward to having another conversation with you very soon.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
I'm really looking forward to the other two segments with Danny. I think there's going to be some good information there because he brought it today. So let me ask you this question. When you're a business owner and everything is on your plate, right, especially in the beginning, you don't have people for stuff.
Right.
It's you, and you wear all the hats. There is a tendency for business owners to, when they start hiring people, to try to communicate the urgency of everything. This is really important. I need you to focus on this. And so is this. This is also important. But don't forget this, because, man, if you forget this, then, the plates start falling and everything else. So maybe over-communicating in the zealousness of wanting to make sure someone understands all that's involved in running a business. And when we start to entrust other people, we're a little scared that they're not going to understand how important something is. But at the same time, we have to allow our people to plan and manage their own time within the scope of our bigger goal of running our business and making it successful. So talk about that. That's something you and I have both done in our own business. Talk about that as a business owner. How do you help your people understand what the hierarchy of priorities are? Well, it's the number one thing, and then so long as that's being done, then you need to focus on number two, and so long as that's being done, then we need to look at number three, so that they have an understanding of how to succeed at what we're asking them to do.
Well, I think when you're small, let me start there. When you're small and you don't have those people, I think it's really important for you to sit down and really get real and decide what you're really good at and what you're not so good at, so that the people you hire in the beginning are the people who can help you with the stuff you're not so good at. I think that's first and foremost. And I say that because I see a lot of people in the beginning because they're great technicians and they want to hire other technicians and then some more technicians. And they forget that they need to watch their money, and they've got to answer phones, and there's all this other stuff. And some of the guys are excellent at booking the whole way through. So if you're really good at the business and the technician part, then you've got to figure out what you want to do and what you don't want to do.
If you're going to grow.
Because
you can't continue to grow and continue to do everything.
So that's the first thing about priorities. You've got to figure out your own priority about what you want to do and what you want to let go and let other people do, and then hire those people. If you don't want to grow, then do it all yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, just do it all yourself.
No, we talk to business owners all the time that really enjoy the variety of, spending a day in the office and then, 4 days out in the field, and they like changing it up. They like talking to customers. They like the billing part. They like all of it. It's a great, that's the game to them.
Yeah. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
Which is the other thing.
I envy them a little bit that they enjoy all of that, because man, I got things that I do not enjoy. Well,
and the other thing about that is some of these guys feel under tremendous pressure to grow.
Yeah.
And so they tell you they want to grow, but their activity and actions tell you no, they don't. Yeah. And so when you really talk it through with them, you find out, I just feel like I'm supposed to because everybody else in the industry, and I want to get left behind, and I'm like, yeah, but if you don't really want to grow, I don't understand why you're doing it, because you're not going to do it well.
Right.
Okay. So that's another thing you got to prioritize. Do you really want to grow or not?
Sure.
So that's another deal. So if you really want to grow, I'm going back to your original question. Yeah. And you've gone through the points of you've hired some people. I think one of the biggest things that you have to do is you have to give people autonomy, and you have to let them fail. And sometimes what you think is a failure is not a failure. They just are doing things differently. So your reactions are huge. If you walk in and go, no, that's not how we do it, and you show them how to do it, and you get the exact same answer they did, all you're being is a tyrant. That's it.
Micromanaging.
You're micromanaging everything, and you're wanting everything done the way you want. Well, this is something I've discovered. If I do that, no new ideas ever come to light, because everybody's scared to death to bring a new idea. Okay? You have to know absolutely everything. If anything changes in your business, you better know about it, because nobody else is going to tell you. If there's a better tool, if there's a better opportunity, if there's a better anything on how to do it, nobody's going to say a word to you. And you're going to end up being a dinosaur, because everybody's going to leapfrog ahead of you, because you have told your people that the priority is, you got to do it my way.
Yeah.
Okay.
The priority is not to grow and change and be the best. It's just do it the way I've told you to do it.
Do it the way I tell you to do it. So you got to be real careful that how you prioritize things, that you're prioritizing your people. I think I'm going to say that again. You're prioritizing your people. So when you prioritize your people, then you're giving them the autonomy they need to actually get their job done. And then you can go to them. If you see something that's kind of out of whack, or why did they do this, or what, then you can ask the question, okay, why did you do it this way? Just curious, why did you do it this way? And if they get to the same place you do, but just get to it differently, who cares how they did it? I mean, if it takes them twice as long, maybe you care.
Sure.
And in that sense, you can say, okay, well, I think you can get there maybe by doing it this way. What do you think? Then you're collaborating to get the best course of action.
Yeah, you got it done, but how can we do it faster?
Yeah. Can we do this faster?
Enlisting them to help figure out what they've got to do.
Exactly. So then, guess what? At that point, some of those priorities, they get reorganized on their own, so that it's just not all on you. So I would tell you that priority 1 is supporting your people. Make them the priority. Priority 2 is make sure that they're serving the customer the way you want them served, because without the customer, you don't have a business.
So that's specifying the goal. Like, here's what we do.
Exactly.
Right.
And number 3 is training in every position, because you have to train. And if you're not training effectively, then that's on you. And if once they get through your training, if your guys, gals aren't figuring out what the priorities are, then something's wrong with your training. So that would be what I would do.
Yeah.
And that's from learning the hard way.
Sure. Well, both of us. That's good information. As we talk about the next 2 subjects we're going to get into, because what you just described requires a certain kind of employee. You need somebody who's a bit of a self-starter, who can take a broad sense of what we were trying to do in this company and organize themselves and the work around making that happen the most efficient way and productive and hopefully profitable way possible. And then you've got to have systems, and we'll get into that as well. So next up is hiring, and then after that we'll be talking some about how to become more profitable and manage that system part a little bit more. I think it's going to be good. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I want to just cover a little bit of feedback here and announcements. If you'd like to let us know how we're doing, we'd love it if you'd take a minute to leave us a review in iTunes. Think about this. Just like your business lives and dies on reviews, so does this show. So if you get value from what we do, please pay us with a review when you get a chance over in iTunes, please. Also, just a reminder, I don't talk about this enough, but we've written a book, Blue Collar Proud, 10 Principles for Building a Kick-Ass Business You Love. It's available in paperback and Kindle, both versions, over on Amazon.com. Do a search for Blue Collar Proud and grab a copy of that book. Also, don't forget, you can still download our free show app. It's available in the Apple App Store as well as Google Play. It's great content. Got some bonus information. There's the swag store link there. You can click and buy all sorts of Blue Collar Proud t-shirts and swag, as well as special offers like the ones that we mentioned here at the top of the show for Closing Commander. So don't forget, you get a month free if you download the app and click on the link in that. But most of all, just come hang out with us over in the Blue Collar Proud Nation Facebook group. Do a search for Blue Collar Proud Nation on Facebook. Find the group, ask to join, and we'll let you right in and hang out over there. We try to post good information, but we don't always keep up with our travel schedule and everything else. We're relying on people to post there as well. Share some information with the group. Let's build that community even more. And of course, you can always find out about all the other places you can connect with us by simply going to bcpshow.com/connect on our website. That's going to do it for this episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. As always, Taylor and I want to thank you for listening. I want to also thank the people that make this show happen every single week for us. Aaron Blaze, our technical director, Jessica Wynn, our show coordinator, and Jonathan Sanders, our community manager. Until next time, remember that it takes the same blood, sweat, and tears to build a business that you really don't even enjoy as it does to take those blood, sweat, and tears and build a business that you're truly proud of. So why not build it the Blue Collar Proud way? We'll see you again right here next time. Bye, everybody.
The Blue Collar Proud Show is a production of the Blue Collar Proud Network.